Hello everyone, welcome to Falcon Fire RC. On the bench in front of me is my Traxxas Hoss 4x4 VXL, and in this video I'm going to be doing a full review on it. It's been over a year since I got it on August 8th of 2023, and I've had plenty of time to test it. I figured since it's now been a year, I should do a review on it, so here it is. One quick note before I begin, however, this is a Hoss 4x4 VXL, which has been discontinued by Traxxas. However, the only difference between it and the new Stampede 4x4 VXL, other than the name and the paint scheme, is the Traxxas Extreme Heavy Duty Upgrade Kit, which I have installed on my Hoss. So while this is a review for the Hoss, it is also a review for the Stampede. For simplicity's sake, however, I'm going to be referring to this truck as a Hoss. Moving on with the review, let's remove the body and take a closer look at the truck. So here's the chassis of the Hoss. Some of you may have immediately noticed that my truck is definitely not stock, and I'll get into the upgrades later, but I'm going to start with the stock specs first. This truck is just over 20 inches long with a wheelbase of 11.6 inches. It's just under 8.5 inches tall with a ground clearance of 2 3/4 inches. It's 13 inches wide and weighs 6.3 pounds without a battery. To start with electronics, this truck comes with a Traxxas VXL 3S ESC, which some people complain about overheating really badly. However, this is the only truck in the Traxxas 110 3S lineup that comes with an ESC fan stock, so I don't think you'll have to worry about that at all. My VXL 3S never even went into thermal shutdown, so it shouldn't be a problem for you even if you're running it hard on 3S. The motor is the Traxxas Velineon 540 XL. It is a long can 2400 kV 4-pole brushless motor. It is the same 4S capable motor that comes in the Traxxas Max and has an incredible amount of torque even on 3S. So much so that I stripped several hexes, and if I punch the throttle on a high traction surface such as concrete, it'll flip onto its roof. The radio is Traxxas 2.4 GHz TQI radio system with a 2-channel transmitter and Traxxas stability management. It's a little limited on features, but it's got plenty of range and good response. And with the Traxxas Link module, you unlock the ability to adjust a lot more settings you couldn't easily adjust before, such as throttle trim or channel reversing. So overall, it's a pretty good radio for an RTR vehicle. There is one feature with the radio system that is one of the main reasons I decided to get this truck, but I don't use it much anymore, and that is self-righting. And the reason I don't use it much anymore is because it's very hard on the electronics and it's very hard on the drivetrain. It is a nice feature to have when you need it, but I wouldn't advise using it very often. The weak spot for electronics in this truck is the servo. It is a Traxxas 2075 servo, which is garbage in this truck. It is barely adequate for turning the sledgehammer tires, and the plastic gears make it a ticking time bomb. I immediately replaced the servo on my Hoss, and I suggest you do the same because it's not good. The rest of the specs are pretty standard to the rest of Traxxas 110 4x4 line. Not all the parts are shared, however. This is the only truck in the 4x4 3S lineup that has a center differential, and in short, this thing is awesome. The spur is steel, so you don't have to worry about it stripping, and the differential helps regulate power between all 4 wheels even better than the front and rear differentials already do, greatly improving the handling of the truck. It has the plastic casing stock, but I decided to upgrade to the aluminum one because I could. The tires are Traxxas sledgehammers with a 5.3-inch diameter. They're mounted on black chrome rims with a 12mm hub. These are pretty good tires. The tread pattern is designed more for looser surfaces like dirt, gravel, or sand. However, they hook up pretty decently on grass and paved surfaces as well. The main issue I've had with these tires over the past year is them coming unglued as a result of high RPMs. And that's pretty easy to fix with the right glue. I'll link the glue that I use for tires down below. But overall, these are pretty good tires and I haven't had many issues with them. The stock gear ratio is 14:54, which I think is pretty much perfect. I might gear it up to 16 or 17 tooth in the future just to see what it's like, but it's got plenty of torque and is fast on 3S. The body is clipless with an internal roll cage and skid plates on top of the roof and the back of the bed to help protect from harsh landings and sliding. However, I do think that these skid plates on the roof should extend to these corners because when sliding, those corners are what get damaged the most. It's not usually the top of the cab as badly. And finally, for anybody wondering about the stock tuning of the truck, the Ultra Shocks come with 50 weight or 600 CST fluid. The front differential has 30,000 weight fluid. The center differential has 500,000 weight fluid. And the rear differential is just filled with black lithium grease. Moving on from stock specs, let's talk about the upgrades I've done to the truck and why I decided to do them. The truck is very good out of the box, but like any RC, there is room for improvement. The first upgrade I did was adding heatsink and fan to the motor. It needs this because even though it is a 4S capable motor, it does still get very hot on 3S. Originally, I got the Traxxas fan and shroud for the motor, which I don't recommend because they don't last very long. The fan is plastic cased, meaning that the spokes that connect the center of the fan to the outside tend to break. And when that happens, the center of the fan will flap around and will actually bang into the shroud, which causes the blades to break off. These fans I have installed on the motor and the ESC are ProTech 30x30x10 aluminum case fans. They spin at double the RPM of the Traxxas fans on 6 volts, meaning they blow a lot more air and are a lot stronger because they're aluminum cased. However, I don't recommend this fan for the ESC because it's a real pain to get it to work. You have to solder on a new connector, and it's not even really necessary because this ESC never went into thermal shutdown with the stock fan. So the stock fan should be adequate for the ESC. The next upgrade I did was replacing the stock 2075 servo with this EcoPower WP110T. I chose this servo because I already had it installed in my Bigfoot and it was a simple swap. It's a lot better than the stock servo and it has lasted for well over a year. The next upgrade is drywall tape and shoe glue reinforcements for the body, and it's about 5 months old now, I think, and it's only got a few cracks. So drywall tape and shoe glue definitely works. It's a relatively cost-efficient way of saving money in the long run, and I highly recommend it. The next major upgrade comes stock on the Stampede 4x4 VXL, and that is the Extreme Heavy Duty Upgrade Kit. It's incredible that Traxxas added this kit to the truck without raising the price at all, because this kit retailed for $120. But this kit is amazing. It replaces all the most commonly broken parts like the hubs and the drive shafts with extremely beefy versions of them. Like if you look at these original stock parts side by side of these ones, there is no comparison. These are so much thicker. I haven't broken any of the parts for the Extreme Heavy Duty Upgrade Kit since I installed it last spring. The next upgrade I installed was the Traxxas GTR shocks. The stock Ultra shocks actually aren't terrible for what they are, which is $9 shocks. However, they do have some pretty major performance issues, such as having too narrow of a bore, which doesn't allow for effective dampening, and they have durability issues like the shock shafts bending, the shock caps flying off, and the spring retainers popping out. The GTR shocks, on the other hand, have thick titanium nitride shock shafts, much larger bores, stronger caps, and spring retainers that screw into the base. I have my GTR shocks tuned with 6 to 8 or 700 CST fluid and VG racing springs, and with the shock collars where they are currently, I'm happy with the suspension setup. It almost floats over some semi-rough terrain like the grass in my yard or newly laid gravel, and it's just a much better feel than with the Ultra shocks. The last upgrade I did was changing out the stock TRX connector with an EC5 connector, and that is because I'm running these Ovonic 5200 mAh ADC 3S batteries. They both get approximately 21 minutes of runtime on the Hoss, meaning I can run back-to-back packs and get 42 minutes out of this truck, which isn't too shabby. Now that we've discussed all the specs and upgrades, let's talk about the most important aspect to consider when thinking about buying an RC car, and that is performance. There are 5 points to discuss when talking about the performance of an RC car like this. They are top speed, handling, stunt capability, durability, and fun factor. Starting with top speed, Traxxas claims 40 miles per hour with stock gearing and 3S. We speed ran it with our GNSS analyzer and were pleasantly surprised. People say that Traxxas exaggerates the top speed capabilities of their trucks, but the GPS does not lie, and the Hoss got 45 miles per hour on the stock gearing with the stock tires and the stock electronics on 3S. Stop, read. 45! However, it is worth noting that that speed is only achievable in optimal conditions, so basically on a paved surface like concrete or asphalt, with a fully charged 3S LiPo. In other situations such as off-road on grass or gravel or dirt, it'll only get probably around 30 to 35 miles per hour, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, handling is a very important part of an RC car's performance. If it doesn't handle well, there's no reason to get it unless you strictly want it for stunts, because if it can't drive nicely, you won't have any fun with it. This truck doesn't steer well out of the box. The stock servo has too little torque to hold the sledgehammer tires in a turn, so on surfaces like grass, you will have really bad understeer. However, once you get a stronger servo in this, the handling improves greatly. Even though the stock shocks is able to soak up small bumps on mildly uneven terrain such as my yard pretty well, and it's nimble, able to turn sharply and precisely. However, turn too sharply and the truck will roll, which is an inevitable side effect of its high center of gravity chassis. However, do it right and you'll be able to drive the truck on two of its wheels. Some people call this bicycling, and it's pretty fun to see how long it can hold it. Hooning around on dirt is one of my favorite activities with this truck because it handles it so well and feels so nice doing it. It almost always goes where you want it to. The handling is also greatly improved by Traxxas Stability Management, which is a fancy name for a gyro built into the receiver, which helps the driver to keep in control. It detects when the truck is about to spin out and makes minor steering adjustments to compensate. It isn't foolproof, but it makes driving the truck a lot more fun, especially on loose surfaces, because with it you don't have to worry as much about counter steering. So overall, the handling of this truck is very nice. Moving on to stunt capability, the Hoss is obviously a monster truck, so it excels in the realm of bashing and stunts. The 540 XL motor delivers more than enough torque for almost unlimited wheelies. Backflips are a piece of cake for this truck, and I've been able to do double backflips off my 45-degree launch ramp. I could probably do triple backflips if I was daring enough. And I've also made some pretty ambitious jumps with this, going full throttle onto the jumps and launching over 20 feet in the air before coming back down. And the truck takes the landing like a champ and keeps on going. I've taken it to skate park several times, and that is the most fun I've ever had with this truck. However, that always comes with the possibility of coming home with a broken truck. One stunt the Hoss does not do well, however, is front flips. For its width, its wheelbase is quite long, and when you hit the brake in the air to attempt to initiate a front flip, it tends to go haywire and does not land nicely. So if I were you, I would avoid trying to do any front flips because you will almost certainly break the truck. And speaking of breaking it, let's talk about durability. You'll see in older reviews of the Hoss that some people think of it as a parts bin special, insinuating that it breaks a lot, and I honestly don't know what to mean by this. Yes, I have broken it quite a bit. However, it always takes a very hard beating before it does break. I've crashed in probably every way you can possibly imagine, and sometimes I'm dumbfounded at how it does not break. And now that the Stampede comes with the Extreme Heavy Duty Kit stock, I think you'll be very hard pressed to break it. Like I said before, this kit replaces all of the most commonly broken parts, and since I installed it last spring, the only parts I have broken are the A-arms, and that's only because they have worn out over time. I think the only real durability concern on the Stampede now is the servo and the shocks, which are both simple upgrades. So bottom line, the Hoss is an extremely durable truck that you will have a difficult time breaking. Now for the final point, fun factor. Traxxas really nailed the fun factor on this truck. Whether you're racing around on grass, hooning around on dirt, popping never-ending wheelies, or bashing, it is hard to not have fun with this truck. I have driven similar RC vehicles like my friend's Armor Outcast 4S, and even though that is larger, wider, and more powerful, I didn't have quite as much fun with it as I did with the Hoss. This is truly an incredibly fun machine, made even better by its portable size, and it makes it easy to toss in a car and bring anywhere. So to finish out this video, is the Hoss/Stampede 4x4 VXL worth the $430 Traxxas asks for it? You'll have to make the ultimate decision yourself, but to me it is worth every cent. There are other options on the market like the Armor Granite 3S or the team associated MT10. However, if I had to go back and choose between the three of them again, I would go with the Stampede because I love the Hoss so much. But that's just my opinion and you'll have to make the decision yourself. I hope this review helped somebody considering getting this truck. And if it did, please consider liking and subscribing, and maybe leave a comment down there saying what you liked or what I could have done better, and feel free to ask questions. But for now, that's all I have to say, and until next time, goodbye.